We're joined right now from a man whose music is a long way from Broadway. His name is Frank Zappa, and Frank Zappa has been a major force, a major figure on the rock and roll scene for 12 to 14 years. He's the founder of a group called the Mothers of Invention, is noted among other musicians and his many fans for his fine guitar work and also for his introduction of theatrics onto the rock and roll stage. It's nice to have you with us, Frank.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Okay.
You're in New York. You're based basically on the West Coast. You're in New York because you're going to be performing, what, for a week? Is that correct?
Roughly a week.
How's the city look to you? You don't come to town that often.
Well, I haven't had a chance to see too much outside of the hotel room and the theater, but, you know, it's crowded. It's sort of drab.
What about the vibes of the city? One would think that a guy who's as tuned as you might be might connect in an interesting way to New York.
Well, speaking about vibes, it's a good thing you talked to me about the vibes of the city. I'm always very conscious of the vibes of a city, you know, and you could almost forgive the crowding and some of the odors and everything because the vibe of New York City is so vital.
Yeah? Is that, you would describe it as a vital force?
Yeah, it's a very vital sort of
Do you ever get off on watching the people rushing in New York? I don't think there's another place in the world where people are in a hurry will risk their lives to beat a red light.
That's right.
Across the street.
That's true. On foot or in a car.
Either way, and if you collide, then why do you figure it is that way?
That's how people get to meet each other in New York.
Yeah, it's true. So have you been to Bloomingdale's?
No.
You haven't made any of the...
I haven't had any of the really treasured experiences of New York City.
I want to hear a little bit of your opinion on you've been a mainstay of the music scene for a long time. You have no intention of pulling out. What do you think of the disco sound, Frank Zappa?
Well, you know, when I travel around the world with my rock and roll band, you know, I go to a lot of places all over, you see, and if you have the choice between staying in a hotel room or going to a discotheque, you usually go to a discotheque, you see.
Right, so you have been in discotheques.
Oh, I've been to very many discotheques, and it is my observation that they're just about the same all over the world.
Mm-hmm. But what about the kind of music that is now being produced as a result of discos?
It's the
dancing kind of music. What's your evaluation of it? Do you like it? Does it move you at all?
It fulfills its function and is a necessary tool of the disco industry. Now, the disco industry has nothing to do with music, and it has nothing to do with dancing, but it does have something to do with getting lonely people together in an environment where they can sort of make friends with each other and then have recreation afterwards.
But you say it has nothing to do with music.
No, really. It doesn't.
Why can you make a statement like that? I mean, it's supposed to be music. They sell the records in record stores and play it on your system.
You could beg the issue and say that, yeah, well, if there's notes involved in it, yeah, sure, you can tap your foot to it, but let's be realistic. What is it all for?
Just for getting people together in your...
That's right, getting them together.
Don't you find yourself moved by it? I don't mean emotionally, but physically. Isn't there something in the disco sound that makes you just kind of get with the music and flow along with it?
I think just about any kind of music at high amplitude with the bass end jacked up is going to do something to your body.
Yeah. What has the music and the performing all these years done to your body in terms of the loudness?
Well,
how's your hearing?
It doesn't hurt.
No?
No.
How's your hearing?
Huh?
How's your hearing?
No, my hearing's fine. I have a 10 dB deficiency at 500 cycles in my left ear.
Jeez, that's almost as bad as me, I think. What does that all mean, 10 dB deficiency?
That means that 500 cycles, which is in the lower portion of the mid-range, I have a deficiency, which means that my ear is not sensitive to 500 cycles on this side.
Oh, I see.
That's from somebody else's instrument on that side of the stage hitting my head.
What instrument do you figure it was? The drums?
It was probably the bass.
The bass is.
It was the attack of the bass that was doing it.
I've been asked to point out that in terms of, I know you're interested in video pictures, in terms of the picture that the people are seeing of you at home right now, the image, which is purely illusion, that's being created, is that you have a piece of white paper hanging out of your right nostril.
All right.
But it is not a piece of white paper. It is one gray hair in your mustache.
No, well, then you have to zoom in closer because I have more than one. I have probably about 5.
How do you feel about those gray hairs, Frank?
I love them. Check these over here.
You got some in your...
I had a birthday yesterday. I was 36 years old.
How's it feel to be 36?
It's great.
I'm approaching that.
It's wonderful.
Really? You're able to feel a little wiser now at age 36 than you did?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Really smart now.
So now you're smart, right?
I got it together today, boy.
Another thing I want to ask about is why have you been so adamant about not about members of your band not using drugs, about you're not using drugs, in spite of the fact that so many people who would turn out to see you might be very stoned and highly wrecked conditioned to go and watch Frank Zappa?
Well, there are a number of reasons why I would recommend that members of my rocking teenage combo don't use drugs. The first is unemployment. Because if there's one thing that police around the world like to do, is cause rampant unemployment of musicians by arresting them and taking them away for using chemicals which somebody has claimed at one time or another is going to be illegal, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not like the idea of having law enforcement agencies impinging on my musical career by virtue of the fact that they will remove a necessary member of my group for using a chemical.
Okay, I got that. I got that, but you yourself come out very strongly against using drugs.
I don't use them.
You don't use them?
No.
How do you feel about the fact that just in terms of general image, even in our discussing you prior to your coming here, that you exude kind of an image of somebody who would be using a lot of drugs?
Well, you probably just saw that white thing hanging out of my nose and thought I was
That was it. I was waiting for the police to come in and bust your mustache.
Right, you didn't
leave
know.
you here, but take the mustache with you.
You didn't stop to think that I was actually, in effect, an old person with white hair.
I introduced you by saying that you had a lot to do with introducing theatrics into rock and roll.
This is it.
the
first step.
One white hair of theatrics. But what did you do in the early days? I mean, it's said that Alice Cooper is your protege. So what were you doing in the early days that got people into not just performing music, but to creating a theater on stage?
Well, a lot of people in the New York area might remember. See, I used to live here in '67. And we used to work at a place called the Garrick Theater down on Bleecker Street. And we did 2 shows a night, 6 nights a week for about 5 months between Easter vacation and September in '67. And the reason why we were in there for so long is because we opened up for a 2-week run during Easter vacation, and lines were around the block, and it was really popular and everything. And then as soon as school went back, there was like 5 people a night. Well, we were booked till September, see, so we had to do something. 5 people show up for the show, so we had to, you couldn't just stand there and play, you had to invent something that was interesting for those 5 people. So we would do stuff like go out and sit in the audience with them, just leave the instruments on stage and sit there and talk to them for an hour and a half.
Right.
Go downstairs to the Cafe Go-Go and get them a cup of coffee.
It's a very highly personalized kind of performance.
You know, this is your show. We're going to entertain you, you know. So we go down and get a little napkin over the arm and come back up and, you know, give them something. Sometimes there'd be 5, 10 people come in the audience. We'd say, hey, how would you guys like to do the show for us? We'd give them the instruments. We'd sit in the audience.
That's crazy. And out of that grew a whole concept of just doing it differently on stage. A couple of things I want to show your fans. You know, we had a lot of calls when you announced you were coming on the show today. People are really anxious to see you. This is Frank's new album, the Zappa Zut Alors, and you're also going to be performing at which theater now?
It's at the Palladium, formerly known as the Academy of Music, December 26, 27, 28, 29.
Should be a good gig.
Yeah.
I'll be floating in the ocean far away, or I'll
Oh, you're going to miss it because we have a special event. Don Pardo. Do you know who Don
Pardo is? The famous announcer, the voice behind the scenes.
You'll see him live on stage at the Palladium. He's coming down. He's going to sing one of our songs.
Don Pardo sings with Frank Zappa. They say life is strange. It's crazy. Frank, it's good to have you with us. Come back sometime again.
Oh, sure.
I'd like to talk to you some more.
Once they got a white hair on the other side.
Then it'll be a match set. We'll be back.